So you've probably seen some of my videos where I'm adjusting my patients, and you may wonder, well, what is actually making that pop sound when I'm putting that movement through someone's body? And the thing is, the reason I'm doing that movement, and it comes down to the cause, I'm not actually caring about the sound effects. That's the least of my worries. What I'm actually doing is actually creating more movement within the body, and therefore allowing the body to function naturally, normally again, and at its optimum, rather than being stuck in actually overworking in certain areas more than others. So I will be really looking for those joints that are not functioning optimally, that have a bit more stiffness in them, a reduction in range of movement. When I find those joints, by putting a specific movement through there, it can create a little popping sound often. The reason is because in those joints, if they haven't been moving for a while, sometimes a bit of gas, sometimes a bit of air kind of gas can be created in that space because those tissues are still alive. So they're creating all these gases in their body anyway. And when we put that movement through, sometimes that gas can get released and it creates that popping sound. Often that popping sound though has also been misunderstood, and it can be sometimes described as a cracking. Oh, will you crack my bones? Hopefully not, because if I do crack your bones, that's actually technically a fracture. We don't want to create fractures. So the space that we're really looking for is a space between those bones where we can actually get the movement through there, and that space between two bones we know is called a joint. That's what we're moving, not the bones. We're moving the bones, but we're actually adjusting the joints, not the bones themselves. You may often hear some different pops when you're moving around, some cracks and flicks and clicks and things like that. And in some cases that might even be some of the times the tight tendons that are flicking over. That's not often what we create in our patients in the noise that you hear. It's often that actually the popping sound is created from the joints moving. But then also, if a patient of ours, when we put a movement through, if I don't hear a pop, it doesn't mean anything. Okay, all that means is that it may not have had a louder sound than others. And that's not the important part. The important part is, as long as we create movement, that's the main thing that we want to achieve. I'm also going to get people saying, oh, you know what, I crack my joints myself. Well, you know what, you want to avoid doing that yourself, because even for me, I can't, and it's impossible for me to align or adjust the joints that need them the most, because it's difficult or impossible for me to actually generate the force required on those stiff joints that need that movement. So I will often go to see my own colleagues and friends to get adjusted myself, and I would encourage you to do the same as well. If you are adjusting yourself or trying to adjust yourself, it's not really an adjustment, it's just a movement that you're creating, and it's often likely to go through a space or a joint that's already moving too much anyway. So all you're doing in the long term is exacerbating the problem. Just because you create a click or pop sound doesn't mean anything. What is important is the why, not the what. Why we are adjusting that joint this time, and what impact it's going to have in the future as well. I hope you found this useful. Please do let me know if you do adjust yourself or try and click your own joints, if you've been to a chiropractor and had your joints adjusted, and let me know what the sensations and experiences you've had as well. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.